Legendary teams, major players, and electrifying tactical action are back in CSGO Regional Major Rankings 2021. From June 27th till July 4th, 10 teams will clash in the thrilling showdown for the prize pool of $100,000 and slots at the PGL Major Stockholm 2021. Who will win more rounds? Who will show the most furious play? And who will claim the major prize? Find out at the CSGO Regional Major Rankings 2021. And don't forget to reload.
Welcome back to the StarLadder RMR. Nemiga taking on Gambit. We've got into the third map after overtime on Vertigo after a 16-14 Inferno. This is going the distance, and for Nemiga, it's a chance to beat Gambit, which is something they have not done in almost 14 months. It's been since May of 2020 since they last had their victory, when Gambit was known as Gambit Youngsters. Since then, they've obviously gone on to become the undisputed best team in the world throughout 2021. But Nemiga has the chance to do the unthinkable. A huge upset early on in this RMR would be massive for them.
Oh, absolutely. I think even if they don't win at this point, which obviously that's all they care about, but it's still turn heads. The fact that they've took a map, the fact that the second map went into double overtime, as you said, the two most legit maps arguably that Gambit have in their locker, and yet Nemiga's took them to the distance twice in a row. This on paper is a map that, yes, Gambit obviously a decent team on. They've got a lot of very good success and victories, but it's also a map that they've got a fair few losses on as well. So I'm really curious, and especially as we talked about, if Shiro does have another quiet start, do they have what it takes to deal with them? Because what we also saw is Lollipop in the first map was absolutely outrageous. In the second map, it was Idis Balance. He was a phenom. So if he's having that kind of a result again in Dust2, then this is going to be a great game.
Oh, I think this absolutely could be. Third maps are always tough because you always feel like, hopefully it's great the way the first two maps were. Hopefully the series doesn't just end flat, but also like Dust2 is a map where it can just steamroll completely out of control. And Gambit obviously have a lot of cool tricks up their sleeves and have a really, really solid game style. So yeah, Nemiga's going to need some of those same heroics we saw in Vertigo. The entries from JO, the pistol round 3-bullet clutch from MDS. They're going to need it all for Nemiga. This could be spicy. I don't know. I'm very intrigued. While we're waiting for this third map to begin, on the other side of the equation, Vince, the other match that went on was what? It was Fours taking on Akuma. Akuma themselves had some massive upsets during the first CIS RMR just a few weeks back. They've gone down 2-0, including a 16-4 loss to Fours. So bit of a rough start for them. And then what? After this match, Vince, what's the second game we're casting? Entropic versus Spirit.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I think it's 15th in the world, play 16th in the world. So super close.
Ooh, okay, that's nice. And Entropic actually already played a game this morning. They're going to come in already warmed up. They played against Double Pony just earlier and beat them in a 3-map series, beat them 2-1. So that's something to look forward to and stick around after Nemiga and Gambit ends. Now, this is just the opening day of the RMR. It is just the group stage. It's a round-robin, best-of-3 group stage. Plenty of matches to get under the way. No matter which team loses here today, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to recover as this week unfolds and we get into the playoffs towards the weekend. But obviously, you'd love to get started on the right foot.
Oh, absolutely. Like, obviously, the group stage really stacked, as we were talking about before we got into the first game. The CIS region, in my opinion, is the most stacked right now. As you just said, you got Fours in this group. In the group B, you've also got the likes of Virtus Pro in there. There's a ton of very, very heavy-hitting teams. So if you can get those all-important points to kick things off in the first game, then that's just going to give you a huge impact going forward. Plus the fact we also discussed as well, Jason, going into this, that currently with the last RMR going the way it did for the likes of Gambit, it's actually up in the air. There's not one team that's a mile ahead of the rest of the pack. It's actually pretty close. So even more on the line, really.
Yeah, well, what is it? It's Team Spirits in first place. 100 points behind is Navi in second place. 80 points behind that is Gambit in third place. And tied with that is Virtus Pro, I guess, tied for third place. Akuma's right after that based off their good performance. And only 3 teams qualify. So, excuse me, what is it? 4 teams qualify?
4. Yeah, 4, I think.
You know what? I should actually review that before I actually say those things on air. So let me take all of that back. The points are correct. I don't know about the qualifying. Listen, we've all got some rust we need to shake loose, Vince. We've got to get into this a little bit deeper. Still, just waiting for this third map to begin. I don't know. I really like the way what we've seen out of Gambit. It was interesting seeing that interview after that previous map on Vertigo, immediately coming out and just saying we're not in the form that we should be. We've kind of lost a step. We're not playing the way that we want to. I think it's hard to always notice that from the outside, but I think every team, honest to God, feels like that to a certain degree, especially when you're like in the top 3, in the top 5. You don't often feel like you're living up to your full potential.
Yeah, and I think that's what keeps people hungry, right? Like it's quite a famous statement that it's one thing to get to the top of the pile, it's another thing entirely to stay there for the long haul. So
yeah,
these players, even if they get to the top, they're the best team in the world. You better believe that there's always things that they want to iron out, they want to improve on, they want to get better with. No one ever truly masters Counter-Strike. Even Simple will have things that he feels he can improve on. So yeah, it's good to see these players still have the hunger and the drive, and they realize that they're not flawless, and sometimes they are going to have off games.
Well, this is no time for an off game. We just saw one on Vertigo for a couple players on an individual basis, but here on Dust2, on the 3rd map, the final map of this series, time for everyone to buckle up and get right into it. Knife round has just concluded. We're going to get Nemiga starting on the CT side. We're going to get Gambit starting on the T side here on Dust2, and the winner obviously has won the entire series.
No, they most certainly will. I'll give them a huge catapult into a Group A. In the meanwhile, though, just having a look at how the players are going to be faring in as we're having some buys come into place. The CT side will be Nemiga. They've got a smoke early on and a kit. And meanwhile, Gambit have themselves a little bit of utility as well. But by and large, most of their team is running with Kevlar.
Who are you taking, Vince? One map.
I've got to go Gambit. I've got to go Gambit.
Yeah, well,
I've got to stick with my guns. Yeah.
I just wanted to see if you were crazy.
No, I wish I was. I'm not quite Anders levels, you know.
Anders would have said something really stupid there, wouldn't he have? Yeah. He would have said something really, really ridiculously dumb. And then he would have picked Nemiga. But he would have played it off somehow afterwards as some stupid thing, some stupid bullshit. Yeah, map 3 about to begin. And here we go. I'm going to go with Gambit 2. I think it's really hard to pick the 51st best team over the first ranked team in the world. And I'm going to feel very comfortable in that. Although I am surprised at how well Nemiga has done at keeping these maps close. I've been very, very impressed all throughout the day. I hope that continues. Early peak for Midas Balance. Takes a little bit of damage for his trouble down to 86 HP.
Yeah, I think especially when you look at the form coming out of the Vertigo over time, it seemed like they really stepped it up. So I'd love to see Nemiga get this one close again, but I can't help but feel that this is maybe where Gambit show just how good they truly are. Triple player stacked though in middle. Jo can see a little gap underneath the smoke, so if he sees any ankles or footsteps going up, or at least hears that, he can call out to the rest of his teammates. Double player stacked though, now going to be moving across. Because they've gone for such heavy investment in middle, they've basically gave the A site up completely here.
They can stick around and gamble, though, if they want, but unfortunately, I think just now it's coming through that it's a full commitment to the A bomb site. There's Nafany. Triple kill in mid, and even though Midas Balance trades back as best he can, huge advantage. 3 Glocks with armor for the Gambit side in this post plant. 1 player in pit, 1 at the bomb site, 1 over at Goose.
Midas Balance traipsing up, post plant in, bomb ticking away, needs to carve a path with a headshot and quickly. Smoke onto the site. That may just afford Hobbit a bit more of luxury though to play around. May have done more harm than good. Understand the decision making though, but that desperation smoke will cost them dearly, and Gambit take the first round.
Yeah, he knew it as well. You could see he even puts like 2 or 3 bullets into the smoke as soon as it plumes, because I mean, there's nothing else you can do. You kind of have to lay that smoke down to give you some cover from long, to give you cover from car, to even make it into that fight at Goose. But man, this is where the round was won for Gambit. Those 3 kills from Nafany watching the flank, even with Shiro getting nothing done once that crossfire is sprung, once the trap hits, it's already too late. Scout picked up for Midas Balance, trying to peer on the edge of the smoke, but can't quite see up drop down lane.
Couple of speculative shots, then decides to fall back, and in doing so, long control beginning to get established. Flashbang out, and the Belarusian box is waiting to get peeked in. A bit of damage done to the scout wielding Nafani as he drops into pit, but still comes out and takes off the head of Idis Balance. This Force Spy already slipping down considerably. Smokes for the cross as well. But Box tosses one out himself, and this will keep Gambit caught in two minds. And whether he tries to play around that smoke or not, that could stall him a little bit longer.
Yeah, but they're going to be fine with this. I mean, it's a little bit of a dicey situation to be in, considering Nemiga pretty much knows all 5 of you are in the pit, or at least outside long. If you're Gambit, you have no information on the map, but you're so safe here. You can just sit in these positions. No one can flank you. No one can push you. You can save all your utility while they spend theirs. Now the question is, how many tags or how much damage is done as they move up to cross towards long? And obviously, if somebody misses a smoke, which would be a disaster.
Shot from Jay. Oh, it's got another one. Actually connects the head through the smoke. Big headshot. And although it's gone down to the shrapnel of the grenade with 25 seconds left, it just takes one moment of madness, and maybe Nemiga can still claim this. Shiro will deny that from being a possibility, and in doing so, they start to pull a plug. Lollipop is still here, though. MP9 shreds and rips through the head of Shiro. He's waiting for his teammate to make the long con, the long flank, all the way around the back through long side. And keep in mind, Box does have a deagle, so this kind of a range, it definitely could pivot in, but he loses his head. And it's Agdal that collects it, and then collects Lollipop. 2-0 start for Gambit.
That's not bad for Nemiga. They make a real opportunity out of that. Great shot from Jo. And yeah, even though you're kind of boxed in, Gambit still make it work at the end. Full set piece, utility coming out to take out the scout, and just taking clean fights. Back to pistols for Nemiga. Deagle's picked up. And 2-0 for the attacking side.
Often where teams will try something a little bit spectacular, get aggressive, or stack angles. Makes sense to go for a gamble when you have very little invested in. Got a Zeus in play in the middle, and Box spotting multiple T's as they dart across to the B side. And with those 2 frags, the round should surely follow. So Gambit, one of the first times really in this series that we've seen them extend the 3-0 lead at the beginning and look actually pretty sharp. Nice shot from Jo, but doesn't really make a great deal of difference.
All right, well, here we go. I kind of mentioned this towards the end of Vertigo. I was interested to see coming into Dust2 how teams would utilize the ops, because on Vertigo, it seemed like both teams started getting really, really frisky with double op setups, and Nemiga's bringing it right out at the beginning of Dust2. Even Box going in with 1 flashbang and no armor in order to get that AWP. Idis Balance going to peer up towards green box. Nobody's going to cross into that angle. A lot of utility out towards long for Gambit, but nobody committing with it. Deep Molotov is going to force them out of the cave for the moment.
Oh, frustrating to watch from Idis Balance's perspective. If he had to just hold the line another couple of milliseconds, maybe he would have got that pick. That being said, there was a flash tossed in, so if he overstayed, it could have actually cost him his life as well. And considering it's such a heavy investment into the round, keeping these 2 ops for as long as possible is definitely what the doctor is ordering right now for Nemiga. They've got such lack of utility that they pretty much have just, for me at least, Moses, they've backed themselves into a corner where they have to stand their ground and frag out, otherwise this round just slips away from them.
Yeah, we'll see. These ops, we'll see a box. I mean, that, talk about holding your nerve. Flashbang out, holds the angle. It's a pretty deep angle. But now it's tough. Now, I mean, there's not a whole lot of time between execution and contact. There's the first box. Now he's got a decision to make. He's way too exposed out towards long. He's got to push forward for the peak. Jo is taking his lucky stars, but there's no chance he gets a second. And the defense, under pressure from multiple angles, crumbles. Bomb site is open. Gambit just need to put down a smoke to safely cross. And now it's surely, if you don't get this kill, if you're MDS and you get this kill, it's got to be about preserving the double ops.
100%. I'm so amazed they're going in for this. Once the smokes have gone down, like, I honestly thought they're going to pull the plug earlier than that, tap out and just save. It seems like they will still get away with the 2 ops, which obviously is the centerpiece of this arsenal of weaponry. But yeah, that's always the issue that you're going to be posing in. Like, if you lose the site and you have basically just flashes across the entire team, you don't have any kits, you've got 2 ops that are way more immobile, you are in such an awkward position. Speaking of which, the second that Box spins around, he gets peeked from Hobbit. who's done more than enough. He's also slowed Itis balance down, who's going to get pushed in. They're going to lose both up. It's a complete catastrophe for Nemiga.
Yeah, that's the other side of what you said, where you're surprised to watch them go for it. The fact that they stuck around and actually went for it like this, I guess they could maybe be trying to delay a little bit with only 15 seconds left in the clock, but the fact that they stuck around just meant it's easier to hunt them down. They haven't actually gotten away and gotten into solidified positions, and Gambit seizes upon the opportunity and takes everything from them. Just pistols and armor for Nemiga, but looking like they're about to go down 5-0.
Yeah, it's looking more and more likely that Gambit are going to extend a lead into something pretty special on this T side. Molly's down. Due diligence being attained here with positions being closed off. Lollipop trying to get aggressive with the Deagle. He is basically alone, though. And it's more default positions from Nemiga, albeit on a much worse buy. Hobbit claims the first pick, and the card starting to fall favorably for Gambit. Nafani cleaning up. Janitorial duties are looking good. Lollipop's Deagle, though, on point to administer a fatal shot to Nafani. But it feels like that's going to be the only thing in this round, Moses, that Nemiga are really going to have to get excited about, because this has been a very fast, a very comfortable 5-0 lead.
Very comfortable indeed. I'm not sure what the answer is going to be for Nemiga. These are some good kills, though, right at the end. That actually might help them with their money. Op is retrieved, so small mistake there from Gambit. And I mean, if you're Nemiga, you got to be perfectly happy with that. If you're investing, if one of your goals is to have a double op setup, a freebie is beautiful, especially the follow-up AK-47 on Lollipop. So happy as hell in a loss is Nemiga, but 5-0. You got to start looking at ways to get back into this.
Yeah, that's always the component, isn't it? Like, even if you get these small victories, these little bits of economic gain, it's what you do with it, because the overall scoreline at 5-0 on the CT side does not bode well whatsoever. So it's all well and good getting the AWP, getting the AK, but now you actually need to execute with it. This is the moment where they need someone to stand tall. The fact is, MDS is yet to get a frag. A lot of the players are low. They've not had much impact at all. So Nemiga, they need this. Not for economic reasons, they need it for confidence too. Get them back into this matchup.
If Nathany decides to go out with his Molotov and apply some pressure in mid early, that could be huge. Only one player, only MDS crossed over to the B bomb site. There's a massive opening here. Good kill onto Lollipop. That's out towards Long. The Molotov burns him. And there's Box. He goes down as well. That's in CT spawn. And yeah, now it's wide open. Now if you're MDS, this is your only option. But unfortunately, Inters doesn't have to do anything. He just can sit there and wait and realize the pressure his team has applied is going to force his opponents right into his hands. 6-0 for Gambit, and that's a clinical round.
This is more like the performance that I think a lot of people, myself included, were expecting to see on Inferno and Vertigo. It's taken Gambit a little bit of time, but they're now at least going through the gears. And maybe, Moses, if they can save these two weapons, again, we're in a position where Nemiga, with max round loss, could maybe accrue some kind of a buy. Obviously, Lollipop, after they saved in the previous round, has enough for a purchase, but that's still assuming that they can even hold on to these guns, because they're getting hunted down. Nafani wants a bit of the action. Agile should be able to clean up, and, well, both the remaining CTs die. And with their lives being deemed forfeit, I'm not sure if Nemiga can get a purchase now. It would be cutting it incredibly close.
I think the only thing I could see that would persuade them to do it is the fact that they could afford 2 AWPs, but that doesn't seem super likely or really even a smart decision in my mind. So yeah, Scout Deagle's picked up for the Nemiga defense, and man, this is the scary part, is Gambit is now starting to have a bit of an easier time with some of these rounds, starting to run away with it, cleaning house, hunting you down, eliminating all 5 players, nobody's saving. And that's going to be the life of Nemiga for some time. If Gambit find themselves getting into bomb sites and still having a lot of players alive, they're going to keep applying pressure. They're going to keep hunting, and they're going to keep taking all the guns away. There's not going to be a whole lot of breathing room for Nemiga on this map.
Not much other than just fumes as well for Jo, who's stuck in the ramp. Somehow bypasses both Molotovs. I've no idea how he managed to do that. Threading the eye of the needle, perhaps also with the Deagle headshot, but that's where his fortune comes to an abrupt end. Gambit looking very good for a 7-0, and there's also a player in spawn. This is not a position surely you ever check. This is a massive tilt there. Oh no. Just doing them dirty, Moses. They just can't get anything going in their way.
Yeah, there's always a lurker, isn't there? That's a rough one. Yeah, MDS having a tough time, but I mean, in his defense at that B bomb site, so, you know, a lot of these rounds have been geared towards A, been geared out mid. He hasn't really had a whole chance to kind of dictate the action of the round. He's more just been a victim of it. Makes sense. Nemiga calling a tactical timeout, trying to talk things over, seeing if they can switch something up. They're back into the double AWP, this time with full utility and armor behind both of them. But only one kit, Vince. They've got the money for 2 more. What do you think about that one?
Surely Idis Balance gets one at least, right?
We're about to find out who's a team player, Vince. All eyes on Idis Balance.
Bruh, not like this. I mean, he still have a kit, I guess, but we'll see. Maybe that is going to be a different speaker.
Maybe it's their version of conceding defeat. They're like, what's the point of buying a kit? We're just all going to get destroyed anyways.
Yeah, I guess when your heads are getting rattled every single round, you don't really expect to be in the position where you could feasibly defuse. Also, going into round 8, I believe that Nemiga collectively have something around the mark of 13 kills overall. They're averaging less than 2 kills per round. And that's why you're seeing some of those players over on the T side looking incredibly stacked in terms of their cash. 13,000 for Inters, just under that for Hobbit. So there's no easy way back in here for Nemiga. If they're going to get their way back into this half, it's going to be having to fight through each and every one of these rounds. There is no gimme at all.
And this looks like it's going to fall into a B split. Nafany's already clearing out close mid. Hobbit's using some utility towards Catwalk, but 2 players with the bomb in upper dark. Nafany peering up towards window. That's the op. Oh, and he takes the reload time. Look at this position he's gotten into. This is so good. It's so nice. And Box has no idea. And MDS close to the tunnels is... What is he supposed to do here? You've just got to gamble. You've just got to hope and pray and wait for the smoke to clear. And they somehow haven't found him just yet. Inters. Oh, he's been spotted. Now there's the turn. That's a long time to be under that kind of pressure. Hobbit on the lurk goes down, but Nemiga realized they've already lost.
Yeah, I think they've already made the call to save. And I think MDS's entire experience on this half of the map right now is why I don't really go off stats too often. Like, realistically, that is literally MDS. Just, bruh, what can I do on the B site? But he's got no kills, very little ADR. But how is he supposed to get in this? Like, every single round, he's being flanked, he's being pincered, he's the last line of defense. He's just being bullied over there. So I don't think it really paints a full display of MDS's individual performance. More so, I'd say it's just the kind of microcosm of a very, very large scale issue right now for the Nemiga, and that's that they're getting outplayed comprehensively across the board.
Yeah, all 8 rounds really so far. Inters has 16K. Hobbit's it's got 15,800, so we'll just give him 16K just for the hell of it. 8-0. Again, the double up setup is on the board for Nemiga's defense, but it hasn't really yielded too many results. This was such a good play from Nafany. That is such a good reposition between shots of the AWP.
If they can favor any better with their double AWP setup once again. Jo not with the secondary, who's typically been using it. We saw him with it on Vertigo briefly and Inferno. And now Nafany, again, forever on the lurk. We saw him have a lot of impact, even though he wasn't necessarily cashing out with all the stats on Vertigo. He's had a much better go of it so far, 106 ADR to his name. And with that early mid control as well, it's not just about getting frags, it's also about hearing audio cues, but MDS just walks in. This is maybe where Nemiga are trying to make calculated risks, get a bit desperate. 2 big frags on the return. Jo and Lollipop giving them a chance, but Hobbit will snuff out the life of Lollipop, and boxes fall on the B side as well. The bomb is still over on A, so they now have to deal with the threat of Inters, who's going to be wrapping around the back of them, and this is going to waste so much time from Nemiga.
Well, they have to deal with it now that Jo actually went and tried to wasted some time trying to find him in holes. They could have tried to take the 2v2 super quickly and force Inter's hands, but I mean, no good answer. Just maybe less bad decisions. And I balance, he's going to fall away. They're not even going to go for it. Save the AK, save the AWP, and it's 9-0.
Oh, the last time we played each other on Dust2 was eons ago. It was actually last year, so you can pretty much scrap that. Obviously, since then, Speedak was removed. Back in April, Balance joined the roster. Definitely a big player for them, but we were kind of touching on it as well before Moses coming into this map and the tail end of Vertigo. Is always going to be a centerpiece of the map. Well, I mean, in all honesty, Shiro and Balance haven't really had that much impact because it's just been these riflers that have been taking over for Gambit. They've been pincering it and just getting great reads across the board on the map.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the rifles have been doing such a good job. They found all the entries they needed. They found a lot of space early on in these rounds. Like, you don't even necessarily need the op to chime in all the time if this is the kind of success you have. Nafany has had a few good rounds coming out middle. This time it's going to be tough. MDS is there. Balance is doubled up with him towards spawn. This is a nice angle to take one shot and back away. There it is. And Nafany crouches right into it. Opening kill to Nemiga.
Yeah, and the delayed peak as well. Maybe a bit telegraphed, but when Gambit have a 9-0 lead, why not just stick with what's been working? Also, they now know that Balance was last seen in middle, so one of those AWPs at least won't be factoring on the A site anytime soon. They had players up in catwalks, they'd have heard him scurrying across. Jo tossing in the smoke allows him a bit of passageway to change up his angle, his avenue of defense. Trying to put some bullets down that corridor of uncertainty as the T's continue to push in. Inters, though, another huge entry, and Jo was caught in 2 minds, but the M4 actually prevails over the AK. That's the box that's now gone down alongside the AK, and now Balance has shown his attention. He's pushed through middle, through catwalk, but Axel just pivots around on a swivel, takes his head, and Gambit win again.
Such a weird round. It's like Gambit takes the site, but instead of like attempting to like clear it out so they could get the plant, they just like ignored the defender in the bomb site and just dropped to kill everyone rotating. They just like fought everyone else who's coming over to assist. 10-0. Doesn't matter how they get there, I guess, but they're getting there each and every time. Completely blanked out is Nemiga, and Balance has picked up a hero glass cannon op.
That definitely has an air of desperation about it. Understandably, you're 10-0 down the CT side. You've got to start winning rounds. There's no two ways about it, but he is completely open and available for Nafani to just take down in the head. Like, there's not even a possibility of an avenging frag coming in. At least JO's managed to retrieve that AWP. So it was momentarily on the ground, but I'm really trying to pick at scraps here of optimism for this Nemiga Dust2, Moses, because this is looking incredibly... I don't want to call it done just yet, but it's getting close.
Well, the fact that the op is picked up and then rings out in middle lets them know that they can just take the A bomb site. They're not going to be worried about any weapon that's here. It's completely backed off. They killed one on catwalk. They knew the other one was on catwalk and fell to mid. So all that's left is a bomb plant. Again, this lurking upper dark. There's always a lurker, and today, at least for Gambit, he's always finding kills.
Yeah, Hobbit, the same player, of course, that was back at T-Spawn a good 4 or 5 rounds ago. Nafani's been lurking time after time and getting a lot of success over the duration of this best of 3. And maybe Jo can put a bullet down range and get a kill to stop this being flawless. It won't be happening. And so Nemiga 11-0 behind. MDS still yet to get off the mark. Collectively, that's what? 21 kills that they have. And we're moving into the 12th round. This is pretty grim.
Yeah, it's not going well. I feel for the B defenders, man. I feel for them. Here we go again. Re-rack it. Hobbit's going to push down mid real quick. And a standard opening for the attacking side. Hobbit's going to start leading his way towards Catwalk. Nafany and Shiro in support are going to back him up. But I mean, they're taking a lot of liberties based off the fact that they've just been so dominant. They're having a good feel for the game at the moment, and they're not scared of anything. Not even using a whole lot of utility to get into this position.
Here comes that aggression. Smoked off, and there's the headshot as well. Nafany straight behind it. MDS trying desperately to hold on to this B site alongside box. They've got an M4 and a FAMAS between the two of them. Lollipop's also rung out elsewhere on the map, but again, their players behind. Again, Gambit are circling like vultures, picking apart Nemiga's defense. And we could even have a clean sweep half because Nemiga's economy is not even in great shape now.
No, it's not looking good. But I mean, at this point, if you're Nemiga, I feel like you're just in like a permanent buy territory just to get some rounds on the board. And I mean, they're going to go down to armor and deagles. I guess there's also maybe a school of thought where at this point in the game you're playing to avoid the 16-0. And well, it's just not Nemiga's map. They get doubled on the cross. Not a kill, but both half HP, and Nafany's there to pick up the pieces. And look at the mini-map, Vince. The other three players, it's a 5-on-3. They know it's against pistols. Axel, Hobbit, and Shiro haven't moved since the double kill came out. They're like, all right, someone's going to flank probably. Someone's going to push Catwalk and try and rotate through mid. And if not, like, they have everything accounted for. Shiro's just going to go plant the bomb. He knows it's clear. And they can only be at long, and they can only be in the A-bomb site. That's it.
Yeah, that's a really good point because, again, it shows you how disciplined Gambit are in these rounds where some teams maybe get a bit overzealous. They try and rush the finish. They get ahead of themselves. But Gambit are just slow, systematic. Axel's very unfortunate with that timing. But I was going to say Shiro's there to clean up. He actually goes down to Lollipop as well. Yeah, surely this is the way you go for it for Nemiga. Like, what have you got to lose? You're 12-0 behind.
I mean, stupidly enough, this is like the best chance they've had to win a round. Like, go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's actually too late now. I think they kind of hesitated on the call too much, but there might have been a little bit of an opportunity. No kits, though. And they're going to back away or just stay far away. Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, we kind of touched on it before the series started at all in the pregame. Is this kind of one of those maps where it's possible to see Gambit just kind of underestimate an opponent and like kind of like, you know, be looking too far in the future and miss the details or miss a step against an opponent like this? I don't think either of us got the vibe during the first two maps, but certainly at some point, you know, when you see that at 12-0, you see that kind of discipline, you're like, yeah, they're fine. They're doing good.
Yeah, I think it would be like for people looking in that maybe hadn't watched the game and they say, oh, Gambit taking their eyes off. I don't think that would be really giving Nemiga enough credit. They played really well in those opening two maps. Yeah, there were some mistakes from Gambit for sure, but there were some incredible reads, some incredible plays from Nemiga, especially over on Inferno, that got them across the finish line. So yes, this Dust2 performance has been lackluster and they've been absolutely just bodied across the board from Gambit. But, you know, I think maybe I'm just an eternal optimist, Moses, but I'm still coming out of this if I'm Nemiga. Yes, you've been slaughtered on Dust2. There's a lot of positives here because most people thought this kind of scoreline would be Inferno and Vertigo, and this would be an incredibly fast 2-0. It's been anything but. Nice pick, though, from Nafany on long, using that AWP on the best possible long spawn and sticking the first frag. Good counteractive kill, though, from Jail, so maybe they can delve past that very embarrassing 16-0 scoreline that could be coming up here. I just want to see them win some rounds at this point.
I don't know. Nafany's being so aggressive peering into the bomb site with an AWP. And he's just going to keep going. Again, just the confidence. Now it's a really, really tough off angle. Oh, from Lollipop, and he spots it out as Nafany's looking above. There was even eye disbalance at a different off angle up top with an AWP. So if he somehow handled Lollipop, would have never expected the second. And Nemiga, they've got to be So excited right now to get that first round on the board. Jo pushing up catwalk. He's going to grab cheer. Oh, no, he's not. No scoped into a 3-on-3. And Idis Balance is now sandwiched between two different positions.
Kill they simply had to get. Idis Balance is missed. Flash up and over. Once that smoke clears, though, he knows he's going to get aggressed on from catwalk, and Shiro puts it down range. It looked good for Nemiga's first round, and instead it's fell flat on its face. And MDS, I also want to see him get a kill, please. I feel so bad for the guy. Even if it's an exit frag, I don't care. Just somebody drop down. But this round is basically done. And yes, he's got the kit. Maybe he can try and injure himself in. But we saw in the last round, Gambit went down with the ship. They stuck on the site. They got plenty of funds. They don't care about dying. So this will be a 14-0. But that no-scope onto Jo, I believe it was in Catwalk, was so huge for Shiro. And you could see how it completely changed the dynamic of the rest of that retake.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't get that miraculous no-scope, I think he was even jumping when it happened. Then Idis Balance has a teammate on catwalk. He's not sandwiched. He can focus in one direction with no fear. And he's even got a teammate, you know, at bricks to be able to support him in some way, whether it's utility, whether it's just holding the angle so they can't push upon him. But that's so brutal. Bad to worse, 14-0.
Auto snipe is also picked up, so it's not going to be a good time for crossing to that B site. And have a look, there's two players already rushing it. They know the auto snipers keep them in position. Now they have had to throw out utility early on to bypass that issue. Hence the incendiary going down first. Orp will be going in for the peak. That's how the overextends. May get picked off, but still comes out ahead with two entries. Oh, and it rains, it pours for Nemiga. This has been so brutal.
Listen, sometimes it's not your map. Sometimes you just got to accept the fact that it's not your day, it's not your map. Thankfully, Gambit seem to be making, they're not playing with their food, you know? This is going to be a 15-0 half, and it's all down to the pistol round to see if we're going to end with a goose egg.
Oh boy. There's not too much to add, is there? It's been pretty much the most one-sided game of CS I think I've casted in a very, very long time. We did get two great maps, though, to be fair, so we can't be greedy here. We got a lot of entertainment on Inferno and Vertigo.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a shame when you think about the fact that Nemiga had a very good chance of ending this 2-0, and when all is said and done in this series, this, you know, people are just going to look back and see this like 15-0 half or potentially 16-0. We're about to find out. But, you know, don't let that disguise the fact that Inferno and Vertigo were very well played from Nemiga.
100%. Totally echo that sentiment because, yeah, they really did look sharp. I think you can also credit Gambit for stepping up their level significantly here on Dust2. There's quite a few narratives that are put into position, but I'll be very curious to see how Nemiga do for the rest of this group because I think they could definitely be an upset team. They're taking Gambit to their limits on two maps, then they can pretty much take anybody, I would argue. Flashes up and over, though. Let's see if that 16-0 comes into play. Damage inflicted. Axel lucky to survive, and Idis Balance trying to pick up the pieces as he gets aggressive with the Glock. MDS has got himself a frag and a second as well. Great to see, but can they still convert the round? Chiro pivoting back and forth. And he has got himself a couple of kills. Nemiga 1v2, and Hobbit's been dinked down to 5 HP. Still connects the headshot onto Idis Balance, and will be looking for more. Tries to stick it, but Fox will make sure that no 16-0 happens today.
Yes, and you gotta love the cheers and the smile. That's big. 2 kills for MDS. I'm happy about that. No 16-0. I'm happy about that too. Nicely done on the pistol round for Nemiga. So it's going to extend things a little bit longer, but you never expect back-to-back 15-0 halves. Or would you? You going to call it? Anders would.
Hell no. Hell no.
All right, well, long control taken by Nemiga, and they're just going to continue fighting. It's a non-stop rush. Axel took his time with the first one, not the second. Back-to-back headshots looked pretty, 15-2.
Yep, one step in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, and Nemiga just take this kill by kill, round by round. I'm not going to even begin to believe until we've hit 10 or 11 rounds here. But when Axile's dropping shots like that with his scout, he's got 20 kills, by the way, and we're only moving into round 18. And yeah, once they have the full assortment of weaponry and some ops in play, then I don't think Nemiga's chances really are looking too sharp. Jo going back out again, trying to just free himself up. He is an incredibly aggressive player. We've seen that on all the maps, and it's a decent turnout as well in terms of frags. 2 kills from Gambit, though, with effectively USPs is really not a bad outcome, all things considered, but now they've got some weapons to back them up.
I like the gentleman's agreement to just rush long both of those rounds, like both teams. Just go fight long, get them over with. Let's get to the gun rounds. See what we've got. Shiro with an AWP. I just balanced with one on the T side as well. Remember, it's got to be flawless from Nemiga for the rest of this half. It's got to be no mistakes. Two players cross, but 2 are staying in mid.
Great shot by Shiro, locking down Catwalk. Does get Molotov'd out, but it's a lot of grenades that are being tossed in for Nemiga with very little in return. There's not much rewards behind this. Hobbit doesn't get affected by the flashes. It was actually a smoke that was busted, and now Nafani can show his hand. Big headshot and finishes off with a second. Jo is reeled out of the round, and Hobbit and Nafani just assert their dominance through middle, as has been the case throughout this entire Dust2 performance, and it's looking like it will come down right now. Domination from Gambit as they take it 2-1, but again, make no mistake, the narration of this must be that Nemiga took them way closer than many people would have expected.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crappy part, is that was 2 great maps of Counter-Strike, and obviously Dust2 falling very flat for Nemiga. But I mean, great performance from Gambit. That's some dominant stuff. And I mean, as we expect from a team of their caliber, you expect to see them, you know, continue their form and even build into a series as we get deeper and deeper into it. So good to see them get this started with the win. And I don't know, just not drop the ball. I think that's the biggest thing. If you're Gambit coming into this, not dropping the ball today, is it doesn't matter how close those maps are. As long as you're out with a win, you got to be happy about that one, because you got some tough matchups later on. No use in really focusing too much on some close wins.
Yeah, precisely. And when things are so close at the top in terms of the RMR points, getting a W here, regardless of whether it was 2 16-0s or you go 3 maps, at the end of the day, doesn't really make too much difference. Like, they've got their win they were looking for. I think Nemiga, though, definitely are a team that I'm going to be eagerly watching for the rest of this tournament, because I want to see if they can take some of the other teams down here. They could very well cause some more upsets and take more maps. So I think it's a great performance by them. But Gambit expected to win, and they came out and they showed us why in that last map.
I think Nemiga's you're right. I think they're the interesting one to see them, what they're going to match up. Like, not even against Navi, who's also in the group, but teams like Akuma, teams like Fours, like those are the teams that you feel like after this, you should be able to see them take some wins there. Although I know Fours is pretty scary. I know Akuma's got some power with some of those upsets, the last RMR. Either way, we're going to wait and see. We'll see Nemiga later on in this event. Gambit take a 2-1 victory. We're going to head to a break, and when we come back, we'll get the next matchup underway. Stay tuned.